Hi everyone. So I'm just going to walk you through my new devices called Chat DSP. These are three devices: an instrument, an effect, and a MIDI effect version that allow you to prompt devices for use directly in Ableton. So you could just create a device idea for an instrument or a MIDI effect or audio effect, and then you type in your idea or an edit here, and then such as just like a simple sine synth, and then you would press prompt new device and it sends it to an AI agent, and then when you get it back, the response, you'll get the synth or the effect that you want. So we got a response, and let me try. So yeah, got a simple synth, and it even gave us a few parameters for it. And that's the basic idea of the whole synth. This is the synth version right now, but there's a MIDI effect, so you can make MIDI effects or audio effect version. But that's the general gist of it. And now I'll just kind of go through explaining how to use it and set it up, and some tips for it and what have you. But that's basically what it is. And so the whole point of it is you have an idea for an effect or a synth, and you tell it here, and you create it. If it's more complicated, it'll take longer, and you might have to do more edits to get it to how you want it and give more details. But otherwise, yeah, and then you can just save this as a preset, and then you never have to call it again, the prompt. You have that instrument or effect always for the future, and you can make different presets from that effect that you made. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, now I'll just describe each section. So there's two main sections. On all of them, it's like this. There's the generate tab and the device tab. The generate tab is for where you generate the device. The device tab is where all the parameters and stuff will go for using it. So let's focus on the generate tab. So here at the far left, this is where you choose your AI agent. You can do Anthropic or OpenAI. I found Anthropic is doing a better job in general. Obviously, it depends on the models and stuff. And I won't say more than that as far as what you think about each company. Oh, sorry, some glitches with my interface. Okay, so now that you've chosen your agent, you'll get different model choices for both of them. It will be from the top bottom is this most robust model. And so in OpenAI, you have most robust to least also. And then, so like the reasoning and things are like higher in the higher models, etc. And then there's the effort. So how many tokens or effort is kind of like maxed out for the reasoning. And yeah, and then at the bottom, you'll choose your API key. So first, I'll just talk about these. So, you have to set up an API key and add credits. I'll show you how to do that in a second. It's really easy. So each time you prompt, you're actually spending a little bit of money to call these. I don't make anything. This is just through the companies. You don't have to do any subscriptions or anything either. You just add a balance. You don't pay monthly. You just add some money and do the calls, and it'll take some cents or something from it each call. And then if you want to add more money, you can, but it won't bill you regularly unless you set that up. So what I've found is if you're doing a more complicated synth or something like that, you might want to use a slightly higher model and reasoning. And then once you make it the first time, which would cost the most, more cents than a lower one, then you will want to probably lower your settings down to do edits or anything like that, so that your edits don't cost you much. And and you just play around with it. I mean, if you're strapped for cash, I would just do the lowest settings you can always. And if it's like giving you bad code or not giving you good enough stuff, just raise up the model to do that task and then bring it down to do simpler things. And if you're doing a more complex edit, like really reworking the whole thing, you might want to raise the model up a bit too. Okay, so now I'll tell you how to set up the API key. That's all in this little question mark thing here. So if you press that, you'll get this step-by-step thing, and you'll have that for the OpenAI too. It's really easy. It's just like clicking 3 links. Like you'll click this one and make an account. It takes like a second. You'll click this one and add credits. It takes like a few clicks. And then once you add credits, you just go here and create an API key. That's like 1 click. And then you copy the key. So again, make an account, add money, get a key. Takes like 2 button clicks. And then you copy that key. Make sure you copy it right away. You might want to store it somewhere just for you. Otherwise, with that key copied, you'll click here, Manage Keys. And here in Manage Keys, you'll highlight here and paste in your key, whatever it is. And then you might want to create like an alias name for it. And then you'll press Save. You don't have to press save. As soon as you type in the key, you can use it, but you should probably press save because then you never have to do this again. It'll always be saved for all of your, I save it hard on your disk in your application data area, so it always loads it and you never have to type it in again. So again, you make your account, add credits, copy the key, paste the key in here, which is in Manage Keys, make a little name for it, press save. You're done. It should work right away, like show up here. If not, make sure it's clicked. And then you're good to go. So that's this whole section. And you can set one up for either of them. You can add multiple keys too. Anyway, then here in the middle is where you do your prompts. It's pretty easy. You just add in your instructions. And then down here, if you press prompt new device, it will not remember any history and like just create a new instrument. Now, if you press prompt device edit, it will make an edit to what's already here. So if you want to do edits, don't press this one. And if you want to do edits, press this one, and there will be an undo button that pops up here, and you can undo one of your edits if you want. Yeah, so that's pretty simple. Down here will be the status, so it'll say success. Otherwise, it'll say waiting for the agent. Again, the time varies a lot depending on the complexity of what you do. If you get errors down here, which will be in red, there's a few reasons. One reason is because you didn't set up your key right. So you got to set up your key. The other reason is if you run out of money, you'll get an error here. And if you add money and it's not working, it's happened to me. It's not through this. You might have to make a new key every once in a while if you overdraw. I've overdrawn and had to make a new key because it just didn't let me do it, and it wasn't my device. It just wouldn't, or maybe it would after a day. I'm not sure. Another reason you might get an error is if you do a complex task with a low model. It might just like give bad code formatting and you'll just get an error here. So that maybe you'll have to raise it. The only other reason you might get an error here is if your Max version is old or something like that. Just make sure it's all up to date. But this works on Live 10, but you'd want the newest version of Max 8. Okay, and before I move on, some tips. Or I give you some tips. If it's all, I'm gonna say it's always gonna go for the lowest hanging fruit. So if you're just like, if you want some crazy physical modeled, like realistic thing, first of all, there's limitations in what you can do in that. Although you might be able to paste in research papers, links if you find them, and I haven't tried that. I want to, but what I'm saying is, it will find the lowest hanging fruit. So you'd want to like be more detailed. Like if you just said like a cat, it might not make actual vocal modeling of a cat. It might be lazy and just do like a a synth that kind of is like have a vibrato like a cat. So then you might have to say no, like make it a like physically modeled cat, even with waveguide, or. So the more details you give it and what you want and being specific, it'll help. Of course, it's nice if you can just say the vibes of what you want and put it to a higher model and see, but you might have to push it. It might do the laziest thing. So you might just have to, if you just get more specific and detailed, it will help it make what you want. Okay, this section here is all dealing with the code that you get. So we just made a sine synth. We can open the code here and see it. So you can, you could even copy and paste this and use it as a starting point for your own Max devices or whatever. You can also press save code. This will export it to C++. So you could design like a module or a hardware synth or something and export it to be used in a module or a web app or something. And then the other reason this exists is if it gives you code errors. It doesn't happen too often. I've done a lot to weed them out, but you never know. So if it makes a mistake with the code, there will be an error here. So my suggestion is if it's a clear error, like this isn't defined or something like that, just even if you don't know coding, just copy it and paste it in the prompt and say, hey, I got an error, fix it, and press the edit button, and it will probably fix it. If for some reason the error here is really vague or something, you could open the code. Again, if you don't like code or don't know it, it's okay. There will be a line here that will be highlighted red. You can just like highlight whatever line is highlighted red or the area around it. Highlight that line, paste it here, paste the error and be like, hey, this is not working, fix it. That's pretty rare or unlikely you have to do that. Most likely you'll be able to just paste the errors here, or hopefully you won't get any. But just in case, if you're consistently getting the same errors a lot, let me know and I can try and make the device better to not let that happen again. Anyway, these tips are all in these little help files too, if you don't remember them. Anyway, this is the most complex section, so thanks for bearing with me. Now we go to the device section. So the device section is on the far left. The AI will give you a little description of what the current device is. And then here in the middle is the parameters. So it will give you parameters. It can give you up to 48, so you have 4 pages of 12. And yeah, so you can ask it to change or add more parameters or functionalities in your edits. I just said a simple sine synth with no other instructions, so it just gave me really basic stuff. We don't really even need much, like volume and I guess detune, whatever. But yeah, I can give you a lot of parameters here. These parameters you can rename, so you can highlight and be like tuning instead. And then you can, it's just said normalized. It means 0 to 1, but it should give you, this would be the unit. So if it was a frequency, it would say like hertz or something. And so here I could say cents maybe or something. So you can also rename the units. Amp, I don't know. Yeah, something like that. It might not give you a unit, so it might just be blank. Anyway, that will all save in your preset too. So you can rename these, or maybe the names will be long that gives you, so you can make them shorter. Okay, here at the top, reset resets them to, it will give you default values. So reset just resets it to what the AI defaulted. And then you can press this to randomize the parameters, and you have a certain amount of randomization you can do. Yeah, so that's the parameter section. These are all automatable, all the parameters, and mappable, so you can, use them with lots of stuff in Ableton. All right, now this right side will differ depending on the device. We're in the synth version, so we have the voice count. Okay, so the synth version, just so you know, is I already did it within a voicing polyphonic system. So if you did like reverb in the synth, that will be per voice. It's not a good idea to do tailing effects. You'd probably just want to make an effect for it. So everything you have it make in the synth is contained in each voice. So it's good to know that. So in the synth version, we have restart DSP. If for some reason it gave you weird filters or things that exploded at certain parameter values, what you'll want to do is pull back the parameter to where it was before it exploded, and then press. Whoa, that was funny. It created a cool effect right there. It's because of restart the DSP. And so you'll press restart DSP, and that will restart the DSP of the device so that it won't be in the exploded thing anymore. Like if you have a filter that's not ranged right or something. Okay, sample drop. So if you had it made a granular synth or something like that, or anything sample based, you drop your sample here, and that's the sample it'll use. It should be good at just using that. If it's having trouble, although I haven't come across this, you can tell it in the instructions to use the dropped sample, and it should know. But even if you said granular synth, it should know to use this sample. Portamento, yeah, so a pitch glide on portamento notes. The main gain, and then the main transposition. And then the amplitude ADSR I give you. This is so the AI doesn't have to deal with voicing the synth and doing the voice release and stuff like that. I already have that system taken care of. So yeah, and that's the synth version. The effect version. Let's load it up. It has on the side it has less stuff, and the only difference is that the only thing it has that the synth doesn't have is this dry wet mix. So often the AI will make you a dry wet mix for the effects, but this is there in case it doesn't or whatever. So, and then the gain for the effect is the gain for the wet effect, not the dry signal. And then for the MIDI, give me a second. Yeah, so for the MIDI version, you just have 3 simple things. MIDI through, that'll pass MIDI notes through. No pitch bend. So the AI device can create pitch bend things, usually if you ask it to, but it might anyway. So you can turn this on if you don't want it to send any of its own pitch bend out. It won't gate your controller pitch bend though. And then note flush. Flush is the notes. So if you were changing things around with edits or whatever, and some notes got stuck or something, you can press note flush and it'll flush the stuck notes. And yeah, that's it. Basically cover everything. Maybe I'll do a deep dive into just like designing a harder synth and like going through what I do to like prompt a complex synth and then edit it to get it to be better. But otherwise, I gave you a lot of tips and the general breakdown. It's not, once you set it up, it's a pretty easy device to use. And yeah, I mean, just like it's an experimental device, so you can't create Serum 2 in it, or 3, I should say, but you can create a lot of like focused things that are odd, or if you just don't have them. And yeah, I'm interested in what you all make with it. All right, enjoy.